Welcome to Vlogmas. Are we on? We're already on 10. What do you know? We're already on to 10. Today I'm going to talk about ambiguous grief, which is different from, but similar to, very similar to, traditional grief. This puzzle is almost completely, well, no, it's not completely together. What am I talking about? Anyway, ambiguous grief is when you're grieving for something that basically never was. You're grieving for an idea, an ideal. Do you hear my cat? That one is Poppy. So that is actually super, super common for people with avoidant personality disorder. You go down, not up. Okay. Because of course there's all these ideals of what everybody is supposed to, these milestones that people are supposed to reach, that people with avoidant personality disorder just don't. This is not a specific term for people with avoidant personality disorder. It comes up most often for people dealing with children. Either, well, I mean, I'm sort of like, come on, you know, you don't get to order it up. It's not like going to Starbucks. Here's my child. But a certain number of people seem to think that's what it's like and can't get over it if something different happens. Like, for example, my son is autistic. I mean, you think that I've said, oh, wouldn't it be cool if I had an autistic kid? That's not what I did. I mean, it is what it is. This has got to fit in here somewhere. Somewhere. Anyway, but people seem to think that they have that right to decide what's going to happen in their life, and when it doesn't happen according to whatever the plan is, they lose their stuff over it. Now, yes, it would be nice if everybody could just order up our life exactly as we think that we would like it. That doesn't mean in reality that, what is the phrase? Watch out what you wish for, or something like that. I think that definitely applies in certain cases. Because you can't just say, I would like this, and this is what your life is going to be. You know, with people with avoidant personality disorder, we get it a little bit more extreme than the average person. Oh, that was right here. This puzzle has very little going as far as direction to tell me what to do. Anyway, there, I've figured one out. Because of course, there's, first of all, socially, this idea of what life is supposed to be and what people are supposed to do, and these are all the things that you're supposed to do in your life. And then there's also things that people really do want in their life, or they think they want in their life. Like, I keep getting asked, why don't I buy a house? I'm like, yeah, because if I bought a house, my taxes would be as much as what I pay for rent. and I would have to cover all of my, house expenses. Why would anybody want to do that? That's the way I look at it. Which is very different from most people. Maybe, I don't know, most people. I don't know. That's my own personal thing. But and I understand that that's not how I'd say most people look at it. No. People with avoidant personality disorder have to deal with the expectation that, you're going to have a certain type of job and you're going to get married and you're going to have children and this, that, and the other right down the line. You're going to do this, that, and the other. That's what I just literally said. I mean, you can tell, I think, how annoying I think that is now. I wasn't always just annoyed. I was also feeling the pressure to conform, in a nutshell, to expectations that were put on me. And how I cope with it was by basically, this sounds really like I'm fooling myself, but it's a fact. I basically tried to excel as much as possible so that I would sort of be given a little bit of time, a little bit of a break, so that I could do what worked for me better. Not everybody can do that, wants to do that. A lot of people would rather actually just do what we're quote unquote supposed to do. They really, really want to have a marriage. They really, really want to have a family. They really want to have, a group of friends like what's on that TV show. Which sort of makes me cringe massively because, ew. But there are people that really wish they could have that. And then they find out they have this, whatever you want to call it, a condition. It's personality disorder. Personality disorder is basically just a combination of traits that anybody could have individually, but once they hit in a certain combination and a certain level, then it's personality disorder. I've had this for so long that it's like, okay, second nature, this is the way I am. And so it doesn't bother me as much. The things that I grieve, I basically, well, okay, I suppose I'm going into the second thing. I have a cat playing in boxes. It's not Poppy. Oh, by the way, I know you need this update, but I think I'm changing her name because I keep calling the cat Lily. So I think she needs to be a Lily instead of, Lucy, which is what she's been all her life. Lily and Lucy, kind of close. Anyway, try to stay on topic. It's absolutely impossible for me to do. Give it a shot. The ambiguous grief is the problem with ambiguous grief is that you will grieve in the same way that you would grieve for a person. You're grieving an idea, a dream that's gone, that's lost. I don't think he's good. That didn't happen, that you wanted to happen. And I have described, again, the older you get, the more that you can cope with the symptoms of the avoidant personality disorder in a way that I mean, that you can cope. Period. Because it's so hard to deal with when you're younger. And when I was younger, I would say things like, okay, I can't do this. It's like asking a quadriplegic to climb Mount Everest. I mean, this is really not really the nicest way of describing it, but seriously, that is what it's like. You know, it's you can't do it. That's all there is to it, and that's okay. It's not great, but it's okay. But people think it's a choice. Like, oh, let me get really personal here. People thought it was a choice that I only had one child, and wasn't that great that you had your one child? That's what you wanted. I wanted more. It's strange because I didn't ever want kids. I thought, oh, what a burden. Until I had my son, and then I was like, oh yeah, let's go. Let's have more. I mean, I would have banged them out. I would have had 5 kids in 5 years. But that's not what happened. And it couldn't happen. This one's wrong. So it's just something you have to learn to cope with. That's better. Like these pieces not fitting. You have to learn to accept it. I feel like this is one of the more important videos I could make, and then completely screwing it up. Because I can't really articulate it. It's like it's sort of too close. Plus, I'm doing a puzzle while I'm trying to talk. That's probably not, making things super easy for me either. You think? But I was the one that came up with this plan, so there we go. That doesn't fit. I want it to fit. This one? Bingo! There we go. Found it eventually. If you have ambiguous grief, which you probably do, if you have avoidant personality disorder, it's probably never been acknowledged by anybody. People probably, if they hear about the symptoms, are probably puzzling over it, like, what? Because it never happened. And because you're not going to talk about it. Because why and how could you? This has to fit here because it's the only one left. So it does. There we go. But you have the same kind of, it's also super slow. If something quickly is out of your life and you're grieving it, it's fast. It was there and then it's not there anymore. And you're sort of, this sounds lame, but you're aware of it. You're like aware that there was something and then it's not there. But when you have ambiguous grief, you might not recognize that, well, basically anything about it. You might not recognize anything about it. You um, it could be like under everything. You could have this terrible grief that you can't acknowledge in any way because it sort of doesn't make sense. Oh, maybe it goes like that. You think? Why are you grieving something that never existed? Why are you grieving something that you didn't even try to get? That idea I hate. Okay, this makes no sense. Oh, that definitely doesn't fit there. That's why. I mean, it does, but it's not correct. This is clearly on top. They're supposed to... I don't know, maybe I just don't have all the pieces. That is without a doubt the most annoying thing to have to hear. Wait, but you didn't even try. You didn't even try. So why are you upset that you didn't get what you didn't even try to get? I don't know if you've ever had to deal with that, but I definitely have. I want it to fit, but I don't think it does. That's it. That's the symbolic nature of doing this. I want it to fit, but I don't think it does. Is like, look, it should fit in paper. That should fit perfectly. It does fit perfectly, but it's not the right match. This is how life is for somebody with avoidant personality disorder. Is you think you want something, but you really don't. That has got to be completely messed up. It's the only explanation for how difficult this is for me to do this. It is really hard for me to talk about this concept of ambiguous grief. If that's not completely obvious. And I wish I was doing a better job of it. I wish I could help anybody understand it better. Or maybe I'm talking to the choir. Maybe you guys already know exactly what I'm talking about. And I'm like, yep, that's a possibility. I had thought about making an ASMR video that was just the puzzle pieces snapping into place, and I think this is going to be it. Nope. ambiguous grief for other people, once they've recognized it, that it's a thing and that it's in their life, they can and will get support. I wonder how many people are looking at these when I do these puzzles and are like, what the heck? How can you not see that that's the problem? But I'm so sure. I'm so sure that I'm doing it right. I'm so sure. What other way can it go? This is what life is like. When you're dealing with thinking about, well, I should have this and I should have that and I should have the other, because that's what people are supposed to have. Some people are supposed to have it. And I'm not saying that you can't have it because you have avoidant personality disorder. I'm saying that the way that you've been told to have it is probably not going to happen. And that's okay. But you have to realize that and understand that, and then grieve it. Properly grieve it. I'm sure that people have heard about people who haven't really accepted a death and who have just been like slugging through their life. Let's see if I can talk right. And they're not basically doing anything. Until they accept that they put all the pieces in the wrong place. And come up with a new plan. A different plan from what they originally thought that they were supposed to do or that they wanted. That extra layer, because of the fear of judgment when you have avoidant personality disorder, is extreme. That, well, you're supposed to do this. This is what you're supposed to do. But you can't. So you have to do all the things. You have to get angry about it. You have to try to bargain your way of manipulating a different way of doing it, of sort of restating what it is so that you can somehow fit. You have to be terribly sad and terribly angry, and then eventually accept that no, whatever the norm is not going to apply. And then you have to do this extra layer, which is not the avoidant personality disorder part, which is the human part, which is you wanted something and it's not happening. And then you have to recognize and accept that there's this thing that you wanted in your life that you can't have for whatever reason. not the way that you wanted it. It's like, for instance, my son has autism. Do you think that when I was pregnant, I was like, ooh, goody, let's have a kid with autism? Probably not. In my case, definitely not. It never, ever crossed my mind. I was more concerned about like maybe a physical issue. I was concerned about maybe, am I going to, have a kid who has the genetic predisposition for a um, personality disorder, and somehow I, didn't recognize that it was happening and contributed, and the kid got a personality disorder. That's what I was thinking. I wasn't thinking autism. I wasn't thinking a disability of any sort. Nobody does. But that happens. You have to accept it and go forward. You know, in that case, it was easier, I think, because, okay, yes, I had to stop thinking that my kid was going to become, Nobel Prize winner or something. I mean, he probably could if he wanted, but I don't think he would. That's not his thing. That's not how he's going to live his life. I did have sort of idea of what my kid was going to end up being like, and he is not like that, and that is okay, because he is something different, and that is the big difference right there. I still have a kid. He's not what I ever thought of. I mean, you don't sit and go, oh, I would like this and I would like this. You don't, but you think about it. And this is the thing, is that you don't even recognize these things are going on in your head. But you're like, oh yeah, that would, I mean, either you assume it or you think it so deep that you don't even really, acknowledge it. So you have to acknowledge these things and then go forward. But again, I had a kid. It is not a complete lack. He's different from what I thought. He's wicked cool. I couldn't have come up with a kid that was as cool as that. If somebody had given me like a computer program and said, make your perfect kid, I would not have been able to come up with a kid as cool as my kid. Period. So he is different from, and so technically that is ambiguous grief. But the ambiguous grief of, and again, this is harsh, I'm sorry, and I'm talking about myself, I'm not talking about anybody else. And I know when I talk about myself and say this, people are like, oh my God, they freak out because they wish things were different for me. I'm not going to have a close relationship of any sort. Period. I'm not going to have a friend that I can have in my life that I can depend on every day. I'm not going to have a partner of any sort. And there are people that are watching this video right now that are probably super offended by hearing that, but I mean, you have to have like physical location that's pretty close in order to pull that off. I mean, if I lock myself out of my car, I'm just screwed. I don't have anybody out there that I could say, hey, could you help me out? Could you give me a ride to the locksmith? No. I don't even have that level. No. And I won't. And learning to accept that is very, very hard. And it's, every time something changes in my life, I think, oh, I should, well, yeah, my goodness. Wouldn't it be convenient if I had a neighbor I could depend on? And I got nothing, nobody, and I never will. And that is fact. And everybody's different. So that's my reality. That's probably not your reality. I mean, I personally have never heard I'm not saying I'm unique, but I have never met somebody who was had avoidant personality disorder, was a single parent, and had nobody else they could depend on for anything at all. Period. Nothing. Nothing. Nobody. I mean, it's great that my parents are gone because they were, they would give 5% and I would give 95, and they would demand it. It was killing me. But I don't even have the 5%. And you don't think about it, but that is in your life every single day. Every single day, every single thing you see reminds you that life is different for other people. And you don't get the things that lots of other people get and that you wanted. And really, there's nothing actually keeping you from it. When I say things like, again, it's obnoxious, but a paraplegic is not going to climb Mount Everest, that's so overstating it. People with avoidant personality disorder are not in any way, shape, or form like that, because there are variations, and you could find pieces in your life that fit. And so that is, and I've said this again, and it is sort of like repeating myself forever. The key is to, first of all, get the idea of societal expectations and just chuck it. You're never going to live up to it. Nobody ever lives up to it, but you're really not going to live up to it if you have avoidant personality disorder. And that's okay. That doesn't mean that you're suddenly going to poof out of existence. They're not going to throw you in jail because you don't fit the norm. Not anymore. Used to. So there's number one. Just figure out, is this an idea that is, something that came from you? Or is this an idea that came externally that is being imposed on you? If it's an external idea, then just get rid of it. Who cares? Who cares? Yeah, it would be great if everybody retired with $7 million in the bank. Do you know what the percentage of people that actually retire with $7 million in the bank is? But that's kind of the ideal. It's actually probably more money than that now. So not meeting all of society's expectations makes you actually average. So try to get those out of the way. And then the thing is to look at what you actually want. And actually is the word there. Because people can want a lot of things. They actually want them. I mean, I kept seeing cute little kittens. Do I actually want a kitten to tear up my house? No, I don't. They're really cute. Maybe give them a cuddle. But do I really want it? No, I do not. It's the same. Figure out what you really want. And then understand that you probably can't have them all, even if it's far less than what everybody else seems to have. And you probably can't have it all at the same time. But if you go through the list of what you want and pick out the most important thing and really ignore society. Society might say, well, you need a job is what you need. Well, screw that. You don't have to have a job. There are definitely ways to not work. And that work will suck so much energy out of you if you have avoidant personality disorder. I mean, it depends what you're doing. You can get something that will give a little bit more too. But it will suck the energy out of you. So maybe that's what everybody's telling you, but that's not your real priority. Okay? Find out what your real priority is and break it down into steps and goals. And it might take a really long time. on this video. I've been doing this videos for a long time. Did you see how many years it took me to do that stupid marathon, half marathon? It was a half marathon. I think it was 4 years in a row that I did active hard training before I finally did it. And I didn't do it the way that everybody else does, except I probably did, because in truth, people who have not trained forever, a lot of them do have like periods where they walk and everything else, but it wasn't a picture perfect ideal. As a matter of fact, that was not really the smartest, because I hadn't prepared for it, and was dehydrated and out of energy, and I, you know, was probably half out of my mind at the end because of depleted energy. It was not a good scene, but I did it, and I finished it in a totally abnormal, weird way, and it took forever because that was the priority at that moment. And now, am I gonna go for a run? I actually tried after, like during the pandemic, I was trying going for running, and I'm like, this sucks. I have no motivation. I'm not getting anything out of it. No, I'm not going to do this. Go for walks, maybe. Go for hikes, definitely. Go for runs? No, it's boring. Because all the motivation was gone. It was just an idea that was out there. It had nothing to do with reality of, you know, what did I actually want? So I stopped doing it. And that's the thing. Find out what you really want and start going for it. And the thing is with that is that will help the ambiguous grief, because first of all, it'll give you something to focus on. And second of all, it will make you understand that these things that you're grieving, you do have a degree of control over. So you can decide that you didn't really want that. And then you're not going to grieve it anymore. I mean, you have to work and really see, is that really something that you wanted? But you can relieve it. And also, once you've done the first thing that you wanted to do and maybe gotten it and realized, well, it's not what I thought. You know, maybe I want something different. That's okay. That one will be off the list too. And then you can pick another thing to try to work on. And in general, this massive level of ambiguous grief that's in the background of this stuff that you thought you were supposed to do or thought that you wanted to do, and you're not doing it and you can't do it. And so you're grieving not being able to fulfill your own expectations. As that as that ambiguous grief sort of cloud gets smaller, then it's easier to cope with. So I hope this makes any kind of sense. I'm not sure. I think it's all over the place. I think all my videos are all over the place. But I do think that that's something that really you can work on. And for me, I did it. It was sort of like, it sort of just happened over years and years and years. I think if I don't know, because I didn't do it, but I think if you really focused on these things, maybe I could have sped it up. Maybe you could speed it up. Maybe I could have sped it up, and I could have had a few more years of relative acceptance and peace. So maybe you could too. Anyway, I think I've definitely talked enough. And I probably missed my deadline. I'm sorry if it's late. Oh, and another silly thing. This new cat of mine, I mean, she came to me, her name was Lucy. I keep calling her Lily. So I think I'm changing her name to Lily because I can't keep it straight. Anyway, talk to you tomorrow. Bye.